For all verified facts, subscribe to our YouTube channel and click the bell icon to get the latest updates.
Hello and welcome. An Air India Express flight, a no-frills version of Air India, flying from Dubai to Calicut or Kozhikode with 190 people, skidded off a tabletop runway and went down a 35-meter slope, all in heavy rain. The Boeing 737 aircraft broke into two pieces. 18 people died, 14 adults and 2 children, and both pilots. A similar accident happened in the city of Mangalore in May 2010, which also has a similar runway. And but the casualty levels there were much higher, with 158 people dying and 8 surviving. So the question now is really, what do we know? The reason we are asking what we know is because there has been so much speculation, and wild ones at that, on an area which you would otherwise think is technically more defined and specific, which also leads obviously to more problems, which also causes, for instance, the sullying of reputations, which may be in this case the pilots, or for that matter, those who work for the airline. So on that note, we're going to find out what really happened, or what we know of what happened, and where the speculation should stop till we know for a fact from either the cockpit voice recorders or the black boxes as and when they recovered. So to discuss this, I'm joined by two experts, both pilots, Sam Thomas, President of the Airline Pilots Association, and also Mohan Ranganathan, an aviation safety expert and a former Boeing 737 instructor pilot. Thank you both for joining me. Captain Mohan, let me begin with you. So, Mike, the question that I'm posing really is, what do we know?
The question, what we know is that an aircraft has landed on a runway which is dangerous, in rain, and it's gone off the runway and some people are dead. That's all that we know. The rest are all speculations. And we also know that he's made what some people call it go around. I call it an abandoned approach, because he did not descend to decision altitude. He abandoned the approach from 2000. So from 2000 feet, it's not a go around, it is only an abandoned approach. So he's made technically only one approach, which has resulted in the accident. So that is the fact. And from what I can say, based on my inspection of Calicut 10 years back, in which I had given a report that runway 10 is extremely dangerous, is because if you look at the charts for Calicut, which airlines use for takeoff analysis and landing, it will show that the slope of the runway is a minus 0.14 for 10 and plus 0.14 for 28, which gives you an impression that it's a flat runway. It is not. The Calicut runway, yes, if you take the two extremes, the thresholds, then it is a flat runway. But the actual thing is like an inverted wheel. And one of the reasons why I say that 10 is very dangerous, the hump with an upslope from the beginning ends around 3,200 feet. And from there, it is a sharp downslope all the way to the end. And your touchdown zone is technically from 1,000 feet to 3,000 feet. So he could touch down at the top of the hump. And it is, if he's even a few knots extra, like if you're landing with 10 knots tailwind, you're going to need 1,000 feet of runway more. And for every 10 knots extra, it is a multiple factor. And right. The other thing, which people don't calculate, though technically if you do a calculation, if you're landing in heavy rain and on a contaminated runway, though in India, you will never hear anything other than wet, runway wet. They will never tell you that it's flooded. I've done the filming for my ALR work. I've got proof that you got more than 25 millimeters of water on the runway during heavy rain. So you are not supposed to fly with more than 13 millimeters, and they never report that. So the pilot we can say it was a pilot error, but if you don't give the correct information, you can't say that he's taken the wrong decision. If you say wet, which means it's only less than, you need only 1.5 times the runway, 1.8 times the runway. So theoretically, he's got the runway, but in actual reality, he doesn't have enough runway to stop. And so, why he took the decision, I want to highlight something which the lead investigator of the Air France overrun crash in Toronto in 2005, Airbus 340, the final finding, he was high and fast, touched down late, went off the runway, it caught fire because it fell over like what happened in Calicut. But when people said, is that pilot error? The first thing that the lead investigator, Rio Leversa, said, humans are humans, they're not machines. I don't look at pilot error, I look at what made the pilot do what he's not trained to do. Now, that kind of mature attitude we lack in India. So, if we say what happened, why he did, one, it was a long duty time.
So, Captain, let me come back to you on that, and I'm going to build on this in a little bit. Sam, what's your sense? I mean, have you flown into this airport? I'm sure you have. And what's your sense on what has happened from what we know?
Yes, Govind, I have flown into this airport several times, even when the runway was not as long as what it is right now. And Captain Ranganathan is absolutely right. He hit the nail on the head, and he has more access to these informations in the position that he is in. I have limited access. And firstly, I represent the International Federation of Airline Pilots Association, which has a cardinal rule which says that first 48 hours of an air crash, whatever conjecture we come up to remains exactly that. It's generally a conjecture at that. And we need to have complete data before we come out with a final finding. And apportioning blame, as Captain Ranganathan said, that is not the idea of an investigation. Unfortunately, in India, it's just you find the pilot and put the blame on him. He's no more. And that becomes that much more easier. Since you use the word layman, it's like telling that, everybody dies when their heart stops pumping. That is the case anyways. But that his neck was cut off before that we don't go into. Therefore, what Captain Ranganathan highlighted is exactly that. Without complete data, the ATC data, the DFDR data, and the cockpit voice recorder data, without all that and the circumstances under which this approach was carried out, like Captain Ranganathan said, first one was a discontinued approach, whether could have been. At this time, it's complete speculation. But since we are explaining to the layperson and there is a level of anxiety that as to understand what happened, when you discontinue an approach from a height above decision altitude in a category 1 instrument landing system, you come down to 200 feet on above the runway level and check. If you are able to see the runway, then you go ahead and land. A discontinued approach, like Captain said, was something that above the decision altitude. Now that is what has happened. Now in a wet runway condition, this particular Calicut airport, the weather is inclement at every given time. And a key factor that people miss out here is we depend on the meteorological department for these weather reports. I have rarely seen an accurate weather report. The first thing that pilots, all of us, be extra alert is when the IMD declares that there is deficient rain. There is going to be deficient rainfall this monsoon. We are on high alert because we know that there's going to be excess rainfall at least. And that's what has happened. Here, making an approach on that 10 runway, which a written report was submitted almost 10 years back to say that it's not the safest thing to do, particularly with rubber deposits. It's in writing, it's in the public domain. However, to make a report up to there is in the hands of the person making the report. But implementation in the hands of the government, and there are clear-cut lacunae or a sort of hesitancy to implement these particular recommendations, whatever the field be.
Right. Okay. Captain Mohan, let me come back to you. So, aircraft are landing or have landed on this and continue to land. I mean, operations have already resumed in Calicut. But something went wrong that day. So while there is some deficiency or likely deficiency in the runway condition, normal aircraft have landed, are landing, and maybe will continue to land. So why does this one particular one go wrong? I mean, because this is the thing that anyone who's flying is always worried about, right? Is it something fundamentally wrong with that airport? Is it the time of the year? This is monsoons and the worst kind of monsoons at that, or something else?
To say that flights are landing, so it is normal. Okay, take the Mangalore crash. Everyone knows that the aircraft tried to go around, take off again. He hit the ILS structure, which was a concrete structure. They are not supposed, by 1st January 2010, you are allowed to have only frangible structures, but Airport Authority had solid concrete structure. The aircraft hit the wing, broke the wing, fuel spilled on that, and they went down. And the rescue, even though the report says that the crash tender reached in 3 minutes 55 seconds, I don't think even Schumacher could have done it with that kind of a road. And I have photograph which shows that main crash tender, the first one, which they said reached in less than 4 minutes, got bogged down just outside the airport with the airport director's car behind that. I've got a photograph. And so that is how they'll do it. Now, immediately after that, Praful Patel said, airport conforms to ICAO standards. And the next day, the flight started. Now, you had that illegal concrete structure, and you know what? They replaced it with steel girders, which is even worse. And for 1 year later, I went and did the inspection. I got photographs. And that's when I made so much of a noise, and they filled up everything. So just because flights are going, you see, every flight, hundreds and thousands of flights take place. Just because they are going, it doesn't mean an unsafe place becomes a safe runway.
Sure.
We were lucky that it has not happened earlier, but conjecture that flights are operating normal doesn't make the airport safe.
Okay. Sam, Mangalore was one, and I'm sure you've landed there too, and Calicut. What would you say is the similarity as someone who's been flying in and out, and what has changed or not changed, particularly in Mangalore after the accident?
See, ironically, the accident in Mangalore happened after the runway extension. We were, the former chief minister of Karnataka, Veerappa Moily, had gone off the shorter runway in an HS748. Yes, so...
I flew in there the next day.
Yeah, so there are a lot of other things that come in with this, though we are saying it so lightly. I was one of the first pilots who landed into Mangalore after the runway was cleared in about 2-3 days' time. Believe me, when I entered the aircraft with the passengers seated, because I had done another sector and come in to do the passengers were traveling only because they had to travel. They had no faith that this was going to be a safe flight. However, when we landed in Mangalore, there was a lot of clapping simply out of relief, not because we landed up there. But having said that, we've landed on the shorter runway, which was about 5,700 feet for a long time without anything happening. So Captain Ranganathan is right. Just because something is not going wrong does not mean that it takes a lot of bad elements, or let's say planets, to come together to form a really bad crash. And it's not a single thing that leads to a crash. It's a series of things. What we should look at is the fatigue levels of the pilots, what are the conditions under which they are operating, and mainly, no serving pilot can come on media and talk like this. I somehow have some exemption. Nobody has done anything to me, but it's a matter of time. Now, the problem is when you get these conjectures from people who have nothing to do with aviation, which is often the case with the media channels, the accurate picture gets distorted completely. There are WhatsApp messages saying that how decorated a pilot he was, which is absolutely true. But then these are two different scenarios. And we
Right.
must.
Yeah, Sam. So what do we wait for? So I think you already mentioned that wait for the cockpit voice recorder, wait for the black box, the data flight recorder, and wait for a proper study of those, and then wait for the result. And as Captain Mohan has been saying that you also need to keep in mind what the condition of the runway is, or the condition of the runway was on that day. So those are things to be showcased too. So what in your mind should be the factors that one should wait for or look at before even arriving at some kind of conclusion as a layperson?
No, firstly, this will take about a year and a half to come out. They might come out with an interim report in about a month or so. But then what happened to the previous report that was stable, which Captain Ranganathan was a part of? What have you improved on that? Why does he need to go to Mangalore to figure out that whatever I recommended is not there, which is the case? Now, there is a reluctance on the part of the ministry because the structure itself is so. You have DGCA working under the Ministry of Civil Aviation. You have the Air Accident Investigation Board working under, and as Captain Ranganathan had pointed out, it has to be an independent body, not reporting to these people, and that the people serving there cannot be influenced by ministerial pressures and high net worth individuals calling the shots. Now, unless we have that, this is a mere exercise. You and I, God forbid, but we'll be again on this discussion sometime later, quoting Advocate Yashwant Shenoy, who says that all of you have blood on your hands. He's right. Unfortunately, I don't sometimes agree with him, but he's right. Most of the times he's right. And that is what I don't know what will it take for them to implement a recommendation given in writing by a high power committee. They will take the report and take it away.
Right. So, Captain Mohan, if two questions, or at least two or three simple questions that remain. So, one is, what are tabletop runways, and are they intrinsically unsafe? And second is that whether they're safe or unsafe, what do we need to do now at this point to ensure that these runways are safer, and there's a perception of safety among pilots and passengers who are flying in?
Okay, to start with, the tabletop expression is a misnomer. It's only in India they call it a tabletop. You have airfields in difficult terrain all over the world, and so it's only here they use the term tabletop. So this is, for me as a pilot, all runways are rectangle. They're all 45 meters wide, or if it's a Corday, it's 60 meters wide. It's only the length which varies. And the area where I touched on, I would aim only for the aiming point and nothing beyond that. And so people touched on, like the cardinal rule when I was taught flying was you fly the aircraft, don't let the aircraft fly you.
Absolutely.
So fortunately, I've completed my career in aviation without writing off an aircraft or going off a runway. But because I followed certain principles and discipline. And I also flew at a time when fatigue was not a factor because we had very strict duty time limitation when I was in India. And even after that, when I helped start up SpiceJet, I was one of those who didn't budge even if a flight was cancelled. Unfortunately, Sam will tell you, for every pilot who sticks to duty time and refuses the flight, there are 5 guys waiting with the bags packed. So that is the biggest problem. We do not have the discipline and unity to enforce that. But the problem, Go ahead.
So is there something, I mean, so the tabletop runways, nothing intrinsically wrong. So that's, I think, what you've clearly said. Therefore, now, what should these runways be extended? Should we clamor for extending these runways? If so, to what?
Okay, now what is important, even in these runways, what they call the tabletop runways, you have the side strip. See, it is not that the aircraft is going to go only off the end. It will also go off the side. That is why ICAO has laid down that you must have minimum 155 meters on either side of the center line. So that whole strip is 300 meters. Mangalore and Calicut have only 75 meters. They do not have the mandatory one. So when you have a narrow strip, you've got to have restrictions. So when an airport applies for the license, on paper they'll say mitigation measures, we should restrict to 10 knots crosswind. DGCA, which is supposed to enforce all that when they issue the license, I can tell you, I have copies of several applications from Mangalore and Calicut, and the license never mentions 10 knot crosswind because in India, we don't have a regulator, we have a facilitator. We will only do what the airline wants because, I'm sorry, but there's total wholesale corruption in the system, and the DGCA will sign on a dotted line what an airline wants. So on these tabletop runways, if an airline which really cares for safety, they should have their own, even if DG regulator says you can operate, but you do a risk assessment and you must have your own limits laid down for pilots. Only then you can have a safe system.
Right. Last word, Sam. Should these runways be extended? How would you see it and are seeing it as a pilot?
See, firstly, like Captain Ranganathan said, there is nothing called a tabletop runway. We named it tabletop. Now, having said that, nobody goes and makes a tabletop runway out of choice. There's lack of space, and particularly in a place like Kerala, you ask for 100 meters of land for extension, there'll be a strike for about the next 100 days. So it's very difficult. There's a lack of anything. There's an obstructionism to everything. However, when there is this is the given runway, and I wish someday in life I'd be able to speak as candidly as Captain Mohan Ranganathan, but the fact of the matter is that you will get it cleared anyways. If you have 75 meters, you make it 70 meters and then delete that portion of it and then say I have done risk assessment and mitigation procedures in a Dornier 228. You fly it there and then say that, yeah, Dornier can do, extrapolate that into 777 and then say, yes, it should. The manufacturer says a 777 needs only about 7 of runway to completely operate safely. And we've done that in Istanbul. We've done that in Rio de Janeiro. So why can't we do it here? Does it comply with ICAO regulations? Yes, with some exemptions. But the fact of the matter is that these airports or airports in general in India need a lot of look into the safety aspect. Commercial considerations are hugely overriding safety considerations at this time. And therefore, we must reverse that to safety is paramount.
Wonderful. Thank you, Sam Thomas, Captain Sam Thomas, President of the Airline Pilots Association, Captain Mohan Ranganathan, aviation safety expert. Thank you both for joining me and trying to shed some light and tell us what we really know about what happened in Calicut that night. Thank you so much for joining me.
Cheers, Govind.